Okay, right, so the next thing we're going to be looking at is the two-sided sign node, and this does something very simple but very useful. This outputs different values on the front and back face of two-sided materials. So I've got two-sided enabled over here, and if I look at the back face of my object, I'm just debugging that number, -1 here and +1 here. So it's giving me a kind of multiplier depending on which way things are facing. This is useful for a number of things. We could, for example, just blend between two colors. And if I plug that to emissive, now our front face is going to be blue and our back face is going to be red. So we can make two-sided materials with different things on either side that can be fully textured. One thing to note, I've just used a constant bias scale here to remap that so it's 0 and 1 rather than 1 and -1. Otherwise we'd get the invert of our colors. So you may need to adjust if you're going to use this with the lerp. Constant bias scale here, just remapping our values from -1 to 0 at the lower end. Very useful. If we were texturing this, and if I plug this into normal and just apply, we might find that the normals on the other face are incorrect. And in fact, let me just show that first. So we have our normal map now on our blue and our red. If we look here in the world, the normals on the blue side are correct, that's our front face, but the normals on our red side have been inverted. They look like they're pushed in rather than pushing out. Might be what you want. If you want this to look like a piece of dented metal, then you want the dent to be kind of like consistent on both sides, they're both in or both out. If you want this to be something like here, like a brick wall, you probably want it to be bumped out on both sides, and so we need to modify our normal. It says here we need to invert our normal map. That's actually wrong. What we need to do is, or it says we need to invert our blue channel. What we actually need to do is invert not our blue channel, so we need to invert our red and our green. So this is a bit of a mistake. I was relying on this viewport, which has some difficulties. So if we just change this, it should be this way around instead, and then another constant of 1. So our blue channel remains the same no matter what happens, but the red and green channels are reversed for the back, and so therefore our lighting calculation is being inverted, but our normal is also inverted, and we should receive the correct lighting for both the front and back side. And there we are. So our lighting here is from this sort of top left direction, and that's both on this object and this one. So that works quite nicely. Okay, a couple more things, or one more thing for two-sided sign. Here we had to correct our normals because of our lighting calculation. Well, same is true if we're using a Fresnel. So if I plug this into emissive, if I don't multiply by two-sided sign, if I just plug my vertex normals in, the front face gets the Fresnel calculation. That's fine, because it's comparing against the vertex normals, but the vertex normals on the back face are still pointing forwards. We haven't duplicated the plane and faced it the other direction. They're still facing forwards there. I don't think you can show vertex normals on here, can you? No. But yeah, they're sort of little normals pointing this way. Well, if I want the Fresnel calculation to be correct, we need to use that with the inverted vertex normals on the back, and now you can create a two-sided Fresnel correctly, which works quite well. So a simple node just gives you positive and negative values for two-sided materials, but a few different things you can do with it. Either have just different rendering, fixing up your normals ideally correctly, or fixing up a two-sided Fresnel node as well.